You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN and Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Christos, and with me today are Amy and Mark. Good morning. Amy, how are you doing this week?
Oh my goodness, doing very well. The weather has been super nice. We didn't get to triple digits, which is a rarity in August. So really having a nice end of summer. It's really nice. Yeah.
Very good. And Mark, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I think I told Amy already, I won the landscaping lottery this week. I got so lucky. I have some neighbors around the corner. They're moving out and they are doing a whole bunch of landscaping to get their house ready. And they had ordered some loam for their yard, and the landscaping company got delivered the wrong thing. Instead of the loam they ordered, they got an entire pickup truck filled with black mulch, which is what I've been using in my yard anyway. And they had no use for it. And they said, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Sure." So we're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of black mulch that I got to take wheelbarrow full after wheelbarrow full back to my house. And now, honestly, it looks like in somebody's estate or something. It looks like so fancy because I have all this expensive black mulch in the backyard and I didn't pay for it. Yay!
Oh, good. Yes, the landscape lottery. Woo-hoo!
Woohoo!
What do they say in the Ferengi, the river of opportunity or whatever, have giveth? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
Yeah, I had a very busy week myself. I was actually took a couple of vacation days out in Palm Springs, and then on Monday I drove on to Phoenix for a couple of days of work. So I had a whole week of 100 plus degrees. I guess I'm the crazy person that's doing all of this in August, including Vegas with Amy for STLV. So I feel like I've been to the 3 hottest cities in America at the hottest time of year. But it was really good. I had a lot of car time, and it was good to kind of catch up on my podcasts and some phone calls with people and stuff. So, but I'm very happy to be home.
Yes.
Great joy and gratitude.
Well, listeners, every week we decide to go a little bit around robin around the table here and talk about something that's giving us great joy and gratitude, usually as it pertains to Star Trek. So we'll start with Miss Amy.
Well, I do have great joy and gratitude. We are ramping up and finishing the lineup for season 2 View Screen. You guys, I'm getting so excited for this next season. It's going to start in a couple weeks, the Sunday of Labor Day weekend here in the United States. And we've got just so excited, and like everything's falling into line. I'm just getting very excited for season 2 of the View Screen. So we're just coming down to the wire and everything's, yeah.
It does sound really exciting. Yeah, I was listening to you guys last week when you were talking about it. So it sounds like you guys are planning a very bigger season 2 was the vibe I got out of your discussion. So I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, kind of leading up to things, this is the second to last episode of All Good Things before we break for hiatus. So you will have episodes of View Screen and new episodes of What's the T-Bev to kind of help fill that 10-week hiatus of All Good Things being on pause.
And more Cinema Z. Lots more Cinema Z.
And more Cinema Z. So yeah, just same us, but just in a different format.
Yes.
And
Mark, what's got you excited this week?
Well, this isn't Trek related, but I noticed that Andy and I have different days off, and so I'll see what he's been watching sort of when I log on to Apple TV. It shows what everybody's been watching. And I noticed that he was watching the Acolyte, and he was like at like episode like 4, and I hadn't even seen episode 1, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, we usually watch, all the Star stuff together, Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever." And he said, "Well, I didn't think you were interested." I was like, "Why would I not be interested? It's a Star show." I was like, "Of course I'm interested in seeing it." And he said, "Well, you hadn't talked about it." I was like, "Well, I haven't seen you." He works a lot. So he's like, okay. So he went back to episode 1, and then we're watching it together. So at least for the next couple of weeks, we have a new Star show to watch. And I'm on episode, 2 or 3 of The Acolyte. So we're watching that. So that's kind of fun.
And you're enjoying it?
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm entertained. I can understand the criticisms, but I'm not going to spend this time bagging on it and saying what everybody else has already said. But I will say that I'm entertained, and it's a Star show, and so I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. I've actually started watching that, and I got as far as episode 4, and I think that's when Prodigy dropped. And then I've been traveling a lot, so I need to pick it back up and finish it. I do know, I guess, not a little spoiler, Mark, is that it has not been picked up for season 2, so it's going to be a nice little canned story that when it's done. But I think there's just so much content out there. When even in Star Wars, like, they're pumping it out.
Yeah.
So
how did you feel compared to some of the other ones? And you've only seen the first like 4 episodes, but what was your impression when it relates to the other Star Wars shows?
Well, this one's really different for me because it's like 100 years before, and I'm interested in exploring that era, like 100 years before Phantom Menace. So I'm like, let's go see some of that. So I'm actually okay with it, but then I can see where people have their criticisms. I think it's their audience is a little bit more niche. Yeah, I got my little great joy and gratitude. I came home after being gone for a week, and I had packages, and I got my first 2 Exo 6 dolls delivered, and like, here I go down another rabbit hole. But I got Captain Pike and Ethan Peck as Spock, so I'm like, I've started my Strange New Worlds, and then I've got my Kirstie Alley Savick on pre-order, but I think that's all I've done. I think after I saw that they had a Beverly Crusher coming, I just kind of like, okay, I'm doing this.
So which hands do you have them using? Because I know they come with different hands, so they can hold the phasers and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do. I actually haven't really taken them out of the box yet, but I'm going to. I'm not going to be that. I have a little rule in life is if I can't enjoy something, I'm not collecting it. Like, if I can't put it out in my house and enjoy it, I don't need to have it. So I will just need to find the right place to put these and start a little shelf or something. But my other
show us. I want to see them.
Throw in the other room.
Next time.
Next episode. Maybe after I get them all out in post.
Okay.
My other quick little thing is just wanted to share. I'm like addicted to DS9 all of a sudden. Like, I'm really watching DS9. Like, and even like the other day, like right now as we speak, Apple iTunes put the entire series on sale for $40. Like, you can buy all 70 some episodes for $40. And I'm like, I bought it. I just bought the series so that I could, put them in my iPad as I want, and, manage it a little bit better. I do find that the picture quality is better than what we get on Paramount Plus. So I feel better about my purchase. But, I've just been like kind of power watching and really enjoying it. I mean, I've always liked Deep Space Nine, but I'm kind of enjoying it on another level right now. I think it's going to be, it's kind of filling the gap right now in our little, as we wait for Lower Decks to come back. Amy, do you want to introduce today's topic?
Well, yes, very excited for this. We are going to be covering our genetic engineering series, and this is our part 6. Man, Star Trek likes to mess with genetic engineering. And so today we are going to cover Prodigy's Masquerade. This is season 1, episode 15. And a quick little synopsis. This is the one where they go down to that planet and Doll gets enhanced by that crazy doctor. The official little tagline is, after becoming trapped in the neutral zone, the crew encounter a rogue geneticist who sheds light on Doll's past.
Yeah, so I think it's Noble Station that they go to, which is pretty cool station. We kind of have that whole aerial platform where they have to take the elevator down, and I forget what the term is for that. They're actually it's a big trope in sci-fi. We saw them in Foundation and some other Star Trek episodes, Star Trek, even Star Trek 2009. So that whole idea of having the elevator, and that elevator kind of create some cool things because you can't beam down to the planet and you can't take shuttles and things like that, which helps with the action in this episode. But we finally get the answers to Dal's story kind of in this episode. We find out that Dal is the work of Dr. Eric Soong's proteges, which means he was created in a lab and is the product of artificial hybrid speciation. So, do we all remember who Eric Soong is? Because there's
Picard season 1.
He was played by Brent Spiner.
Yes.
No. See, that's Alton Soong. Mark is right. They're all played by Brent Spiner.
Yes. Oh, is Eric the Enterprise one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I literally stopped this morning and I Googled like the Soong family tree and actually found a really good one by some guy in Germany that actually has everything down and who everybody is and how they relate in. So I need to make sure we share that maybe on our BQN socials this week because it really helps me. But Eric is like the oldest Soong we've actually seen. Actually not even when we see I take that back. The one we see in Picard is the old Adam Soong, I believe
Adam, the original.
Yes, Adam.
Father of Corey.
Stupid.
Basically it's always a Soong. It's always a Soong. But so we know Dal's been looking for his origins, right? But it was unclear, who his parents were. He was basically searching for his parents, right? But turns out he's an augment blended with 26 other species. So what did you guys think when that was all kind of revealed? Was that what you were expecting?
No, and especially with the high number, like 26, like that just seems way too much. I mean, we are used to mother, father. We have 2 come together. This is who I am. And that whole thing with Doll, wanting to find out who his parents are, then realizing he has no parents. And then he's just this mismatch of all these genes that, I mean, that is a lot to take in. And watching this again, my heart just really felt for him when he went and sat down, when he found out he's like walking backwards and like sat down. And that was very, very heavy. And it's like, so what are you? With all those different genes, it just seems way too much, out of the box writing, to be honest. It's cool.
What did you think, Mark?
Well, it's kind of like, I don't know, bring back to Star Wars for a second, but when they finally, in the sequel trilogy, they finally give Luke something to do, and he just takes the lightsaber and he just throws it above his shoulder and just walks off. It's like, what? Why? It's a little bit disappointing. You're just like, really? That's the direction you're going to go with this? And that's kind of how I felt about it. And I was like, really? I don't know. I agree with Amy. Like, it's just a lot. I can see where, as a cartoon, they're just like, oh, we'll just have the number be like huge. Like every species, we'll throw it into a blender and press puree. But I don't know. To me, it was a little bit of a letdown too. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. They did say that he's basically, I think the dominant is human augment, but he's got all these other species, in fact, and a lot of species we've heard of and a lot we haven't. So, but it is pretty intense. So for those purposes.
Yeah, and one thing that they also threw in there, and I sort of wish we had like a science advisor because there was a lot of science going on here, but talking about dominant and recessive genes. And she was like saying that, what was that? The scientist, the geneticist, what was her name?
Dr. Jago.
Yeah. And she was like, well, you've got these recessive genes. And it's like, so you've got genes that really aren't even being used. So what's the point? Like, all of this just seems such a harebrained idea. And it sort of goes along that trope of people meddling. Oh, what that TNG one with the where he had to build the case to the individual diseases, or you can
the one that was like, if this goes bad, if this goes unstable, everyone's going to get, this could be so many infections.
And they're like, why are we doing this? It's just some busybody trying to mess with these disease or people messing when they shouldn't be. That's what it feels like.
Well, it's also like we see this trope a lot, and I don't think, and we're talking about episodes that don't even hit this series yet, but you could look at TNG's Unnatural Selection.
Yes,
Dr. Pawlowski ends up aging. Is that the episode?
Well, that one and another one, yeah.
But same thing. It's like you're augmenting. In fact, I don't even know if what they were doing there. That was a violation of.
Mm-hmm.
Of our no augments thing. We all have dominant and recessive genes, even like right now as we speak. I mean, those are how things as simple as eye color get determined, when we're cooking. So, but the idea that, kind of jumping to things, Dr. Jago basically offers him a epigenetic dermal implant that will activate dormant genes and stimulate rapid cell division, so he can start tapping into more of these other DNAs that have been spliced into him. I mean, first off, is this too much for kids to even wrap their minds around, or are we just, are we being nice about? Are we being underestimated?
I don't think kids care.
Okay.
They're not really following the plot. They're like, oh, they're shooting lasers. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on the age, but I don't think they care. Like, if you go back and rewatch plots of like Ninja Turtles or something, there's going to be stuff there that you're like, oh, I didn't realize this is what they were doing. Because when you're a kid, you just sort of glossed over it. Like, oh, they're fighting the ninjas. Okay.
Yeah. I was reading a little bit of a review on this episode, and it said there's so much in this episode you kind of have to go back and watch it twice, because they really do throw a lot at you in a couple of key scenes. So yeah, so basically we found out, to sum this up, Dao is this, augmented kind of Frankenstein type being who's very unique in that sense. I mean, you could argue that his parents are his creators the same way they would be for Data or anybody else, the people who created him. And no one ever talked about it from that point of view in this episode. And I thought maybe that could have been one
missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a missed opportunity. That's a good way to phrase it, Mark. But it never went there. So this kind of like leads into what I'm calling Dao's journey. Okay, because we're 15 episodes in. We kind of know what, by this point, our crew, and we kind of know what's motivating them or not motivating them. And Dao's basically been seeking ever since we met him, right? He's, he's been looking for his parents. And, he's been seeking, I frame this as belonging. So, he's looking for a family, he's looking for his family, and he's looking for it in lots of different ways. And so he's having all the emotions. So he's looking for his family. He has, I think, a little bit of imposter syndrome. Did anybody else follow in that at all? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
That was written into his character, I feel like, especially the whole first season. And kind of in the second season, but we're not going to spoil it for anybody.
But I think he's definitely mastering fake it till you make it. That's how he lives by.
Yeah.
It's a good tactic. And, Amy, what do you think about like his jealousy of Okana? That was kind of popping up quite a bit in this episode.
Yeah, and that goes along with what you're saying, this imposter syndrome, because he's always like comparing himself to Okana, how the crew, listens to him, hangs out, likes him, follows their advice. He's coming up with good solutions, and that just is feeding his imposter syndrome. And so that definitely just permeates the entire episode, where he is just feeling lower and lower and lower, which sort of goes back to the geneticist, where she's like, you have these recessive genes, you don't have any parents. And then when she flips it and she's changes it, but I can accentuate and bring out those, major genes, those dominant genes, and you can be better. And so then it's like this idea of, I can be better. I won't be an imposter. I can be like Okana.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like all of my problems are going to be fixed if I just do this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of the animosity between him and Okana is because they're so similar. I found that, different points in my life where there would be somebody I really wouldn't get along with, but it would be because we were so similar. There was just something there that, I don't know. It just drove me crazy about the person, but I saw in that other person the things I didn't like about myself, So maybe there's a little bit of that with Dal, where he looks at Okana and he's just jealous of, how well he's been able to do, when he's like, but I'm like that, or I do this, or why aren't I successful? You know what I mean? That kind of
Yeah, I mean, with Okana, yeah, we see all the jealousy and everything. And have we ever like looked up to people to ultimately find out they weren't everything we thought they were? And in fact, in the end of the day, they weren't even that great to begin with. I mean, that's kind of the lesson Dal learns here, I think, by the end of the episode, when Okana basically ditches them in that key moment, and he's like, "Oh, you left us." And it's that whole moment of, oh, maybe I shouldn't have been looking up to you. And it's like the kids looking up to bad role models. That's probably the best way of saying that. O'Connor's a bad role model for Dal, but he's viewing him as a role model in some ways.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the comment.
So, Mark, when you were saying that he sees a lot in Okana, probably because they're similar, they do have similar traits, totally reminded me real quick, little personal counselor Amy moment. There was a math teacher and 10 years ago, and she was so much like me. Efficient, everyone liked her, like she was out there. And I'm like, we didn't get along too well. And I do think it was because we were so similar. And now, where is she? She's like she's the bigwig. She is the math person over the entire district. And I now that I'm coming back, but I've switched over to counseling, I needed I needed a document. So I emailed her, and I was just like, giving her flowers, because she has worked hard. And I sort of feel like if I wanted to be where she was, I could have been. Like, she has done everything right. And I just, it took, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but it took a lot for me to like tell her, I'm like, I am so glad that you were there. I feel like the math program is going to be better because you're at the helm, and congratulations. And she just, typed back and was like, thank you. That really means a lot coming from you. And I'm like, okay. So it's like we sort of got things a little bit nicer, because we did not start off on a good foot. We were always professional. but there was some animosity, I think, because we were so similar, and I was
she
jealous
runs
of
a
her.
podcast network too, right? And she covers
Yeah.
Doctor Who. I think I've heard her Doctor Who podcast. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes through that whole idea that when we get into even professional relationships, we can be competitive, right?
Yeah.
And when we get competitive, sometimes we can, the instinct can be to want to tear each other down rather than lift each other up. And I think
Yeah.
that was very big of you, Amy, to lift her up here and show that, respect for what she's accomplished rather than being like, jaded or, I could have done that, I'm better than her. She doesn't deserve that. Because, that's what we hear a lot,
Yeah.
people do. Right. And, another allegory to our current presidential race, I'm better than, I'm prettier than, I'm smarter
Well,
than.
I leave it to Star Trek for teaching me a better way to be.
There you go. That's Star Trek for you. So basically Dow he turns down the offer because he hears some advice from Janeway in his head. And we'll get to that a little bit more later. But after the crew leaves, he goes through with it and he does take this genetic implant. I would say genetic augmentation, but he is already genetically augmented. So he takes an implant that's going to be able to have him be able to do different things. And, at first it really kind of jumps in and helps them, right? When they get jumped by the Romulans, he turns it on, he turns into this little ninja warrior. And then kind of things get a little crazy as we find out as they're going up the turbo shaft or whatever you want to call that, the space elevator. And it gets kind of ugly. Mark, what do you think of all these different the weird mutations that start coming out?
I think for me, one of the more memorable ones was the Klingon, because I had noticed that when they were in the, I guess the geneticist lab, it was just, I saw the Klingon flag on one of the things. And I was like, how is there Klingon in this guy? I didn't see it. And then that ends up coming up when he has to do battling. He hits the little button and then all of a sudden he's got the forehead ridges. And I was like, okay, here it goes. And then seeing that mixed with the Vulcan and how the logic came in handy, or the Beta Z, so there was different traits that came out. But for me, the one that stood out was the Klingon one, because I was I noticed it and then I was waiting for it and then it came. So I was like, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
That's funny, because the one I liked was the Tellurite in his teeth, and it was interesting to listen to. Who's the actor who voices Dahl? What's his name? Not Ella Purnell. It's Gray.
Something Gray. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. But one thing I liked with Dahl was his voice acting, because he, was using all these big words, and how fun for the actor to be going through this very fast metamorphosis of characters, of being intelligent, speaking all Vulcan, and then getting that grumbly, rough voice, for the Tellurite. And I'm like, wow, that was very fun to go on that roller coaster ride with him as he was progressing through these different species.
Yeah, it shows his range, definitely. And we get to see that again a few episodes later when he swaps bodies with Janeway, where he has to basically take on a whole nother persona as an actor, and kind of do it in his voice.
Brett Gray.
There we go. All right. Well, ultimately, I have some other topics here that are a little bit more on point for us, as we normally would talk about. Ultimately, they get him fixed, right? The Django pod and what's the guy's name? The
Zero.
Yes, sorry. I always forget their names. They get them all fixed away. But I kind of want to take topic 2 to talk about some of the lessons that are in this episode, because I felt like as a kid's show, there were a few lessons here. And I think even as an adult, they still resonate. So the first lesson I took out of this was, I'll be better if I just fix this. And it's this idea we have as that we often find ourselves thinking we'll be happier if we fix something about ourselves. And I guess this can be true and false. So kind of want to turn this and ask you guys this question. Can you think of any example of where you did something to try to be accepted more? And anybody want to go first? This is where it gets a little uncomfortable sometimes.
Oh boy. Me fixing myself, that has been the story
of my
where
life,
I am
right?
now. Definitely in my 20s and 30s, where I was trying to, get married, and why am I not getting married? And I'm getting older and I'm not being a mom, and, those social pressures, and knowing that I can only change myself. So what is wrong with me? If I just fix this, then I will get married, have the perfect husband, have the 2.5 kids, and, be the perfect homemaker. So there were a lot of things that I specifically went and fixed so that I could become this ideal of a perfect homemaker. I taught myself how to cook because I'm like, well, a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So I literally spent my time watching Martha Stewart, recording, writing, learning how to cook, and yet still no husband. And I'm a great cook. I went through weight loss surgery. I'm lost 110 pounds, still no husband. But now where I am today, because of all those things that I had to fix, quote unquote, they weren't fixing. They made my life better. I have a better quality of life. I'm way more healthier. I'm going to live longer. I enjoy my cooking. So those things that I was trying to fix for some ideal to happen, didn't happen. So I had to reframe those things. I'm glad that I taught myself and changed and grew. But the outcome was not the original intent.
That makes sense. I totally, why you did these things in the first place maybe weren't the best reasons to be doing them, but it did make you a more well-rounded, complete person in the end. Yeah. And you didn't necessarily need all those things that you thought you did to be a happy person. Mark, you've had a few minutes to stew on it.
Yeah, but I don't have anything as I guess prolific as that. What came to my mind was like when I was younger, I was like really interested in just like the really macho guys, that drank beer and played darts and that kind of thing, and so I would try to I'd go to the bars and get a beer and tip them back with whatever. I'm just not into beer. I just don't like beer. I would buy it. I'd keep it in my fridge when guys would be, hey, you want a beer? That kind of thing. Like, oh, this guy's into beer. I'm not into beer. At some point in my life, I just gave up on trying to be the guy that liked beer or had any illusions, that I was into it. I don't keep it in my fridge anymore. If you come to my house, you can have some hard alcohol or you can have some hard cider. I drink cider. But that's it. I'm not a beer guy, and I'm coming out of the closet as not a beer fan. I'm tired of buying it when I don't enjoy it. There's some that I didn't mind, but I don't even buy those anymore either because why spend my money on it if I just don't mind it? No, I'm going to drink something I enjoy, and I don't enjoy beer. So that's it.
I love that.
Now. I do too. And Mark, there's so much more to what you just said, whether you realize it or not, and I think you do. You were basically doing that to try to be accepted into a social group by taking on a different persona of what you thought they wanted you to be, and at the end of the day, you're just like, no, I'm going to do what makes me happy. Yeah. I could flip the script for myself and talk about all the things that we do as gay men to keep up with the society's expectations of what gay men should be. And which is, when I was younger, everyone had to look like the underwear model. Now with gay society We definitely have splintered off into all of these different tropes and body types and whatnot. And it seems like there's a tribe for you, whatever you want to be. And so I think we're getting a lot better with that. But yeah, I've definitely done things to be like, hey, I need to be more in shape. I need to dress a certain way. I need to listen to certain music and whatnot. And it's like, sometimes that helps because sometimes you do find new music that you like, or maybe you do find other things. But at the end of the day, you just got to kind of be yourself, right? And there's one thing I've kind of learned through the one thing I will say I've learned from RuPaul: love yourself, because if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? And
Amen.
Amen, right? And that was probably the biggest lesson I ever learned. Our other lesson in this episode is given to us by Hologram Janeway. And she leans into Dal before they go down to Noble Station. And she says, remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And anybody have any sort of life lesson with that, where you kind of maybe thought something was going to be amazing and just going to maybe fix something or whatever, whether we're talking about, fertilizer for plants or whatever, some miracle, this miracle button of life that was going to make things easy, and it just turned out to be a waste of time or money.
This is a callback. This is going back, 20 years. But one of the first inventory jobs I had was working at Target, and I really loved working at Target, and I liked the culture there, and I fit in really well, and I learned a lot and excelled really quickly. I was like kind of on a fast track to the management there. And I got offered from an outside company, Joanne Fabrics and Crafts, a management job. Like, they had heard about me, they reached out to me, they asked me if I was interested in taking over their inventory department and being the manager. I was a supervisor and a trainer at Target, but it was like, oh, I could be a manager here. And it was more money and what have you, better benefits. I was like, all right, well, let's do it. So I put in my notice. I went and jumped over there. Oh my Lord. That was a big no-no, because I got there, and technologically they were behind like a couple of decades. Their whole receiving team, everybody was like, over the age of 65. So trying to motivate somebody to be faster when they have a hip replacement was really hard. It was just struggle after struggle after struggle. I didn't know what half of the stuff in the store was. At Target, I knew what like an ottoman was or a duvet cover. But when I'm at Joann's, like, I don't know what, like a bobbin was, or, this kind of thing. Like all of the sewing equipment. I'm like, I have no idea. So I was way underwater, and it was just a really bad experience. And I did it for like 6 months, and I ended up leaving and having to do something else. So I wasn't going back to Target. So, it was that was like a step in the mud. Now, from that, I went off and have done, a lot of other things that I've really enjoyed. But it was definitely a misstep where I thought, oh, this is going to be, with a pot of gold at the rainbow was going to be there.
Yeah.
But there was no pot of gold.
What is that saying? The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And that's a perfect analogy, Mark, because professionally, everything might be good on paper, the pay, the title, et cetera. But if like the company culture is not there, the technology, and the only way that kind of works good is if you are empowered and you have the resources to fix those things. But if you that's not really what your job is just to come in here and do this, you're like, you're going to be, it's going to be a struggle, because you got to be, happy, I think, in your work as well as just besides compensation. Amy, you got anything there?
No, it's just, I was thinking, sort of going along with that weight loss, of all the weight loss drugs, just take this pill and the pounds will melt away. You don't have to do any work. Okay, if you don't have to do any work, then you are not really changing anything. So that's just some miracle drug is not the answer.
Take this pill and all your hair will regrow. Yeah. Okay. Listen, I've never done that. I don't plan on it. I just think it's all stupid.
Oh yeah, that Rogaine.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna grow an afro suddenly after 6 months of taking this pill. I'm sorry, it's just not gonna happen. Everybody would be taking it.
Yeah, I think those are really good examples. Weight loss drugs. There's always been that promise of the easy way, and that's usually what it is. And not just weight loss, but anything. It's do this, do that, or earn money. Like some of these are really bad, like Ponzi schemes and things like that. People lose everything over some of these scams. So I mean, to be mindful of the scam. So, should we jump into some assimilations and regenerations?
Yes.
I will kick it off because I wrote this first one. I wanted to say that Kate Mulgrew just rules. She does. This is one of the early episodes where she's basically doing a lot of Admiral Janeway and Hologram Janeway in the same episode. And it's just all the Janeway, and I love it. And I'm just going to give a little shout out to an interview that AOC did a couple of days ago, where she literally said that watching Voyager with her dad was one of the biggest influences she had growing up, and that they even brought up Kate Mulgrew and Captain Janeway by name, and just was giving her all the love. And I'm kind of realizing that maybe I've been more affected by Janeway than I give credit to, but as a character and even the actress that portrays her. So I'm just going to give Janeway some love overall as my first assimilation.
Yeah. I am loving all the tie-ins to the other shows, like with the Discovery and Dal's little tail. Well, that's ganglia. All right. That's from Discovery, Kelpian. And when Okuna's telling the story about how he was just, trying to get these two lovebirds together, the callback to TNG. And then, of course, Picard and Enterprise soon, Eric soon, like all of these tie-ins. And it's just so sleight of hand that, if you don't know, you don't know. But I love it. Whereas like Lower Decks is bonk, bonk. This is funny, bonk, bonk. And this is just so slyly interwoven that it's just shout out. I love that about Prodigy.
Yes. Mark, do you have any assimilations?
Yeah, I actually think that Essentia, when we're first introduced to her, we just, thinks this is just a member of the crew that they're spotlighting. And then I think it was this episode, they're sort of laying the seeds that she's a little bit more sinister. And I got to give credit to the Prodigy team because, it's not easy to formulate a complex villain, right? Usually it's a lot easier just to have like, okay, this villain's just sort of one note, Dr. Evil kind of character. But to be able to do it in a subtle way where, all of a sudden, we're going to find out soon that she's, a villain. And then you go back and you're like, oh, the sort of seeds were there. That kind of makes it really special, really cool. And I think that they're doing a great job with this series of setting her up as being a big bad, somebody to fear. And so I really like that.
Yeah. I like how we have the false villain in the Diviner, right? Because he is kind of the baddie in the first 10 episodes. But with his memory loss, I think we're all just kind of expecting here in this second round of episodes that he still is the baddie and he's going to get his memories back at some point and be very dangerous. And that, but then it turns out they kind of change on us here. And it's not that. All right. My other tie-in was quickly, if it's just little TNG Romulans, kind of goes back to what Amy was saying, that they just show up and it's a little bit more, we see the Deridex, the Warbird and whatnot. And I just kind of like that. Regenerations. I just put in here, and I kind of mentioned it earlier. If Dal had never done the genetic manipulation, they could have never defeated the Romulans and they'd all be captured and it would just be over.
Oh, well, I'm sure someone would have stepped up. And this goes to my regeneration, like Murph. he was barely learning to walk in his new body, and then all of a sudden he's kicking Romulan ass on the turbo elevator thingy. Like, come on. That took me out of it.
Agreed. Mark, any regenerations?
Nah.
Yeah. I just thought it was a little bit much that the final one I had here was that Dreadnought was on the Dauntless all along and even transforms into Dreadnought. And it's like, there's no alarms going off, no foreign technology being detected on board or anything like that. I don't know. It just seemed like, they're all being evil in this little room. And it's like, it's a little much.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so let's do this next part together, kind of in rapid fire, because it's kind of designed of, I call this not just trivia, but trivia and continuity, because there's a lot of things that are just, kind of moments. So we'll just kind of read these off in succession, maybe, because there's a lot of cool things in here. So
Dr. Jago's screen shows emblems of various species. I love this part. Whose examples she checked Dal's DNA against, some of which previously appeared in other TNG series. So the Andorians, at one point you had the little Andorian antennae, Bajoran, Breen, that's cool, Cardassian, Ferengi, Hiroj, is it Hirogen?
I think it's Hirogen.
Okay, Kazon, Klingon, Rycian, interesting, Rycian. I didn't see the little thing appear on his forehead. Sona, Sulaban, Vidian, and Vulcan.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. 4 of the emblems originally come from Star Trek games. A Gorn symbol from Star Trek Starfleet Academy, a species 8472 symbol from Star Trek Online, an Orion symbol from the Orions, a Star Trek The Role-Playing Game supplement, and a Tellurite symbol from the Starfleet Operations Manual supplement for Star Trek Role-Playing Game, now used in a canon production for the very first time. Bringing that games in there. I like it.
Those are all some deep cut stuff that's just kind of bringing things from beta canon to canon. That's pretty cool. Yeah. The Tholian emblem originated from the reference book Star Trek Star Charts.
This version of the Romulan emblem was previously used only in Star Trek Nemesis promotional materials, but not seen on screen. Similarly, the Riemann emblem is based on a design sketch created for the movie, slightly different from the version used in the actual film.
There's some Nemesis love, Amy.
Yeah. Well, 3 emblems belong to a multi-species group, the Dominion, Maquis, and Xindi, without specifying the actual species. That's good to bring up, because there are some species that have multiple groups in it.
Yeah, especially like the Dominion, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
One of the symbols has the shape of the letter Q, which might designate the Q continuum.
So is Dal part Q?
That would be interesting.
That would be very interesting. Okana discusses the events of TNG's The Outrageous Okana with the Protostar crew.
Yeah, that was cute. Admiral Janeway's ready room contains a replica of the USS Voyager, the ship she commanded during the events of Star Trek Voyager.
The Romulans use the same disruptor pistols and rifles featured in season 1 of Star Trek Picard. Ooh, there's more of that tie-in, Amy. Look at them pulling the shows together. Last one.
Although there is no official star date with the episode itself, a log by Janeway on the Star Trek Logos Instagram account dated the episode to stardate 61368.6, year 2384 by Christos's calculations.
You must have went on a deep dive with that one, Christos.
No, I know my star dates. I know 4-1 whatever is TNG season 1, and I know that is 2364. So you can do the rest of the math.
There you go.
Star dates keep adding a year for every season. So awesome. So final thoughts on this episode in this series. And let's see the previous episodes that we've covered. Now that we're all the way up to part 6, this one got kind of long here. The original series, Space Seed, we covered. We've covered Voyager's The Fight. I think that's the one we've done most recently, actually. DS9, we've done 2 episodes, Statistical Probabilities and Dr. Bashir, I presume. And Strange New Worlds is Ghosts of Illyria. So of the 6 episodes, who do we think did it better, or which episode does it better?
Well, yeah, going over those, that's a very lovely list that we have there. This episode I really like because there are so many different species that Doll is made up of, 23 now that we know. There is a lot of science that goes into it. The dormant, major genes, man. So I really do like Masquerade. I think it's a great way to show off genetic engineering, talk about sort of what could go wrong if someone's just a little too busy and trying to fix things, the other one that's just my favorite is the Deep Space Nine Statistical Probabilities. I just love that episode, and Space Seed. I like that too. So for genetically engineered series, I'm saying that Prodigy Masquerade did it best. That out of all the lists, this episode, I think, showcases genetic engineering the best.
From Amy's mouth to our ears. Mark, who did it best?
I think I'm going to go with DS9 Statistical Probabilities. Yeah.
That's the math episode there. So we know that's why Amy likes it too. I'm a little bit between Dr. Bashir, I presume, and Ghosts of Illyria. And I'm just wondering if Ghosts of Illyria is still too new for me, and that's why I like it, because I love Strange New Worlds. So maybe it's getting a little higher.
I know it was tough to vote for something other than Strange New World for me.
Yeah,
too.
I feel like am I? Do I have some bias because it's new, it's good, it's fresh? Ask me in 5 more years after it's had a little bit more time to settle, and even Masquerade.
I was shocked, Mark, you didn't choose Strange New Worlds, because I know that's like your
Strange
favorite.
New World guy. Yeah, yes. But if we're going just with the topic,
yes,
I think Statistical Probabilities probably highlighted genetic engineering the best, and really sort of dove into like what the repercussions mean for different types of people, how some people can be affected in a positive way while other people in a negative way. And we got some really great character moments in that episode that I was just like, okay, I got to go with that one.
Yeah.
All right. I love that we all kind of think a little differently on this.
Yeah.
That's the fun part about doing this. I do want to add to our short list of episodes that we need to do is Unnatural Selection. And I think we need to have Mr. Matthew Dempsey come as a guest that week, because he is our Dr. Pawlowski fan. So,
okay.
So would the Queen of TNG like to tease the next week's final episode before hiatus?
Yeah, so our final episode, we are going to be going to our alternate realities series. What better way to end this season of All Good Things? We are going to be discussing Next Generation's Yesterday's Enterprise. This amazing piece of work we're going to be discussing. I'm very excited. Great way to send us off. Yeah,
I would agree. And I am actually planning on being on next week's episode, and I'm looking forward to discussing it.
Yes. What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, Kelvin, and Kristin. Whether you've got Xbox or Nintendo, check out Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. 2 episodes enter the arena, 1 comes out victorious. Join hosts Joe and Kevin and a guest as they debate which should win the Batleth battle. Grab your popcorn as you listen to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out. Hosted by Mark and Matt. Don your apron for The Food Replicator, where Matthew eats and drinks his way through the Star Trek cocktail and 3 cookbooks. Beam aboard Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Steven. In order to not repeat it, listen to History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissie and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissie and Thad. Curl up with a good book and delve into Beta Canon with Peter, host of the online Trek Book Club on Twitter, and his new companion, Trek Book Club podcast. Test your Trek knowledge with Treksperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Whether you're a member of Starfleet Federation or Planetary Union, go check out Union Federation, covering current Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Head over to YouTube and watch The View Screen live on Sundays, your Trek-inspired talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy, with Season 2 starting in September for a 10-week run. Spill the tea with Christos while he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with a LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea-Bab. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind with monthly script readings, Let's Fly, a Discovery reaction show, It's Green, a cornucopia of topics, Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, or on our Discord server to continue our discussion there. Please follow the network on Bluesky and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. We've also partnered with our friends at the Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find us by searching their master feed. Links can be found in the show notes. So, Amy, where can people find you when you're not genetically modifying yourself to be even more fabulous than you already are?
Oh, well, when I am not doing that, you can find me here on the network. We're co-hosting Union Federation. Right now, we're covering all of the TNG 2-parters and having such a great time. We're going to be covering Time's Arrow this week. So, yay! I am on our BQN Facebook group, the BQN Collective, and on our Discord server. So you can find me there. And Mark, when you're not genetically enhancing the growing hair gene, where can people find you?
Meh, who cares? People can find me definitely in Cinema Z on this network. We've been putting out like an episode a month. So it's sort of like what is it? The must-see TV appointment television. It's like that, but for the podcast. It's like, oh, this month we're going to get a new Cinema Z. So yes. Check out our backlog and also check out the new ones as they drop. And you can also find me in my backyard digging in the dirt. Lots of dirt. And Christos, where can people find you when you are not making the walls rattle in your home, listening to Kylie Minogue at the top of the volume?
Oh, you can definitely find me doing that. But you can also find me on Instagram at GreekGeekSD and at What's the Tea, Bev. You can find me in our Discord server and in the Facebook group, the BQN Collective. You can also, like I said, find me on What's the Tea, Bev. Looking forward to some new episodes. I just redid the opening credits the other night to update the pictures of ourselves that you may see in there.
Excellent. Yay. Well, if you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron on the network on Patreon. Notice there are no commercials on any shows on BQN, and that is something I feel strongly about. And we can do this with Patreon money. Just $1 a month. You can join our reaction shows, Hive Mind, script readings, special patron shows of It's Green, Amy's Math Moments. So please visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
So if for whatever reason you don't have enough money because you've been donating to the DNC, KamalaHarris.com, whatever, we understand. It happens. So there are other ways that you can support us. So you can talk about the show with your friends. You can share the episodes once we share them. You can hit subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review because, of course, it helps a lot of other people to find this wonderful show.
At this time, we'd like to thank our very own associate producers, Mahendran Radhakrishnan and JJ Seastrum. A special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music, and to our very own Mr. Mark White for our artwork each and every week.
Thank y'all for listening.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
all good things.